So hey AIM fans, the series name is What If Naruto Was in Fairy Tale? So let's start the series. It turned into an enormously non-violent day for the residents of the old-fashioned little town. Well, as quiet and non-violent it may be, while a chaotic and entirely unfavorable guild consisting of Fairy Tale turned into positioned in its midst. Days like those had been hardly ever seen, but they had been so dearly ignored. The peace and quiet could be associated with a certain red-headed females go back to the town, while the commonly damaging guild was all serene and non-violent. It became much more likely that the redhead referred to as Erza Scarlet was again from her quest. But while the already ear-deafening cries of conflict could skyrocket, everybody knew what, or as a substitute who changed into answerable for that blessing, Magnolia really become grateful for the character's tendency to take missions that took longer to finish. In any other case, no longer a single constructing would be spared from his negative antics. Bad news, guys, Erza is back. Happily or regrettably for Lucy, she had no idea that stated man or woman changed into on a quest in the meantime, and that if he had been right here, his presence might have definitely changed her image of the guild for all time. One character's impending technique become already stressing her out. She is not even right here and absolutely everyone is freaking out, the busted blonde muttered worriedly. The character wasn't even right here and she or he ought to already see more than most of the wizards, turning sickly pale from pressure and fear. Even she was a little scared. She is the strongest female wizard we've got a beautiful white-haired woman stated beside the blonde, a candy smile on her face as she pointed to two of her fellow wizards. Take a look at how Natsu and Gray are appearing. Okay, scratch that. She become freaked out. If someone as hot-headed as Natsu changed into performing all chummy together with his arch-nemesis out of worry, if the manner they were hugging and smiling changed into any indication, then she had each proper to be scared. Even they're scared? A while ago, Natsu challenged her to a fight and she or he beat him up like a drum. Mira Jane giggled softly, eliciting a puff from the busted blonde. She determined Gray walking round naked and beat him up too. Both of them deserved the beating, but come on. She did now not need to know that this newly coming near female had beat up the supposedly heavy hitters of the guild all by means of herself. She was already scared shitless. Don't forget about Loke, Mirakana remarked from the sidelines, a vicious smirk flashing on her lovely visage as she drank from her glass. The resident card wizard of Magnolia had the advent of a busty younger female, with long, wavy brown hair and black mischievous eyes and pouty lips forever stuck in a seductive smirk. The young brunette wore simple apparel, in the sense that it left measly little for the imagination, a blue bikini pinnacle futilely trying to contain a couple of heavy and wobbling spheres of flesh, brown pores and skin-tight pants tightly stretched over her wide hips and snugly hugging the fatness of her plump rear and thick thighs. Oh, I consider alright, the silverette giggled cutely. Loke tried to hit on her, and got served. He deserved it, even though Kana chirped in. That playboy wannabe must count number his fortunate stars that he wasn't present in the meanwhile. Otherwise he'd be dead by means of now. Even the docile female couldn't assist but accept as true with the brunette on that one. That guy did no longer admire any man making movements on his infants, as he so eccentrically called them. Even Lucy forgot about the approaching doom for a second as she looked among the two ladies in confusion. I'm sorry. Who are you guys talking about? You may meet him quickly sufficient, the busticard wizard spoke back vaguely, hiding a mischievous smirk behind her glass of beer. Oh yeah, very quickly certainly. She should nearly odor his scent inside the air, so sturdy, effective and intoxicating. Sounds of heavy footsteps and the acquainted clang of armor reverberated around the guild hall as the shadow of a disfigured being approached them, on foot into the wide timber hall with a giant horn located firmly upon her shoulders. Become a lovely red-haired female. The redhead's top body changed into covered by way of affixed of silver armor, leaving her hands uncovered up to her elbows, although the familiar bulge on the front of her apparel hinted at an impressive pair of breasts. A short blue skirt hung low on her thick hips and barely concealed away the sheer plumpness of her prodigious butt, exposing muscular but female thighs and long legs covered in knee-high boots. Even Lucy, a girl who prided herself on her splendor, couldn't assist however appreciate the feminine charm of the redhead. Now, not to say she in reality looked like a real girl, rather than a young woman like her. I've again, Erza introduced loudly, pausing mid-sentence to look around the guildhall for a familiar face. All people but the newcomer knew why she stopped. I see, so he is not right here. I puzzled why the hall turned into much less chaotic than usual. Wait, does that imply that it's even greater negative than this? The busted Heartfilia heiress lamented inwardly, an involved expression crossing over her visage. She seriously did now not want to listen that. The modern-day condition of the hall became already getting on her final nerves. Mira, seeing the appearance on her face, couldn't help however snort in enjoyment. Welcome, returned Erza. He isn't always here. So is Grasp. I figured as a great deal, the redhead retorted flippantly, gazing across the hall together with her sharp eyes earlier than she settled on her target. For the reason that he is not here. I assume the two of you may do simply nice. What do you need us for? Gray asked quietly, a careworn look on his face. He become a young black-haired boy with an unusual addiction of striping out of the blue. However skilled in the arts of ice make magic, I heard something on the road. It truly has been troubling me. Commonly I might seek advice from both Grasp or Naruto on the problem, but seeing that both of them are absent, I am pressured to take action myself on account that it's pressing, the redhead defined in short, making sure that her phrases have been properly heard and understood. I'm gonna need the two of you to include me. At the same time as the relaxation of the guild was too busy murmuring to themselves about the sudden group, Lucy had a Miles urgent question to invite. Who is Naruto? The blonde celestial wizard asked quietly. The man must be something if Erza taken into consideration him inside the equal league as Makarov. The busted silverette gave off certainly one of her candy giggles, accompanied by using a slurred snort from Kana. Erza's boyfriend. She has a boyfriend. The busted blonde chuckled sheepishly whilst the aforementioned redhead gave her a pointy appearance. Okay, perhaps that query got here out wrong. I suggest the idea of Erza Scarlet landing a boyfriend was much more likely than her own success. However, it becomes still unexpected that the Titania had every day a person as her equal. Sure, she does. The takeover wizard spoke back humorously, covering her mouth with a sensitive hand. In truth, she made the primary circulate, and true element too. Otherwise the negative pricey might have been left heartbroken. Naruto can be our most powerful wizard, however he can be denser than a brick wall. What an afternoon that had been. Now, I really want to meet this man, the Heartfilia heiress muttered. Cautious what you wish for, Kana interrupted with an indistinct smirk, confusing the blonde wizard. He may additionally just be extra than you could deal with. She doubted all and sundry could handle that man. She must understand. She tried and failed deliciously. As a minimum that failure gave her a treasured lesson and something else. But not anything goes to prevent her from attempting. Even the disasters had their very own rewards. Kana, don't scare her, Mira admonished lightly, though a small mischievous smile can be visible flashing on her lips. They didn't need the busted blonde to escape out of worry before their favorite wizard may want to have assembly along with her. Okay, what the hell is that intended to intend? Is he even scarier than Erza? Lucy couldn't help but ask, a looming experience of tension washing over her form whilst the brunette Alberona truly smirked. You'll see, the busted celestial wizard wasn't given tons time to contemplate on her words earlier than the door to the guild hall become kicked open, almost ripping the door from its hinges as a tall shadow appeared at the gateway. Fear not, bitches, for Naruto Uzumaki is right here to bless your sorry asses. The younger guy seemed to be someplace round Erza's age organization, with a lean however muscular frame, an unkempt and spiky mop of pink hair and bangs framing either sides of his sharp facial functions. Blessed with the maximum extreme blue eyes ever, the unnatural glow of his blue orbs most effective, superior the herbal but feral air of mystery of his visage. Possibly the most thrilling attribute were the whisker-like markings on his cheeks and comparatively sharp canines protruding from his higher lips, giving the redhead an aura of feral dominance. The redhead wore a high-collared crimson gown with gold trims alongside the collar, and sleeves extending all the manner to his shins, at the side of a big, flowing black toga draped around his torso. Admittedly, while Naruto had expected a variety of reactions from the guild, an atmosphere of pin-drop silence become not one in every of them. The reality that they had been now not celebrating his wonderful go-back ought to simplest mean one issue. Erza was back. K, wherein is my little Spitfire? Naruto requested loudly, sharp blue eyes roaming over the hall to discover his drop-useless excellent crimson-haired bombshell of a partner, and he determined her status beside what turned into unmistakably the horn of a slayed creature, and fuming at him. Did you simply name me a complaint? Yup, she became back and frustrated. But not anything one steamy, hot kiss on her rosy lips couldn't remedy. Is that how you welcome your boyfriend? He interrupted, flashing the redhead a feral smirk, Unfortunately for him, the smirk had little impact on Erza, though a certain blonde ought to sense herself getting vulnerable inside the knees from the sheer lust in the back of his gaze. Good enough, then true chat, the robe-clad wizard snickered, inflicting the wizard's to face fault. And which is my consuming buddy? The Busta Alberona wizard raised her glass to get the redhead's interest. A huge smirk on her seductive face. Over here, lover boy. Lucy mused in surprise, looking at Erza for a response, only to acquire a twitching eyebrow of annoyance. How should Erza now not pass on a rampage while her guy was hitting on any other girl and stated lady turned into overtly calling him lover boy? Just, the woman I was looking for, Naruto spoke back excitedly, hurriedly making his manner to the half of bare Alberona brunette as he reached for an invisible pocket in his pink robes. I were given the suitable gift for us, oh yeah? The gown-clad redhead slammed a massive bottle of sake down on the table with an extensive grin, inflicting the voluptuous wizard to gasp in marvel. This little toddler is gonna depart us tipsy for hours, placed on your church footwear and start churning butter. Reason we're about to drink our heads off. That makes no feel Gray muttered unsurely. Naruto, fight Mouch hey. The resident fire dragon slayer wasn't given much time to finish his sentence earlier than a kick to the stomach dispatched him flying away. Do you mind? We are performing some serious strategizing over right here, the redhead snapped, directing a disapproving glare on the groaning boy. The destiny of our livers are at stakes here. Cannot you see the severity of the state of affairs? He is bizarre, the blonde celestial wizard concluded in a deadpan. Hot for certain, but honestly weird anyhow, in which turned into I. Naruto asked absent-mindedly, trying to wave off a sure redhead's drilling gaze behind his head. Prevent something you are trying to do and pay attention to me, Erza growled impatiently, effectively snapping Naruto out of his stupor. We've a new recruit, and you are presenting the wrong image here. A new recruit, you are saying? The redhead exclaimed excitedly. Where is she? How, do you are aware of it's a she? Mira requested amusingly. I odor an additional fragrance in the corridor, the redhead replied toothily, searching across the corridor before his eyes centered at the supply of the brand new heady scent. Holy cow, her tits are large. Thwack, the redhead didn't even feel the fist implanted in his cranium as he stared at a shivery Lucy. He wasn't kidding. The younger bombshell had whole cantaloupes for breasts stuck under her orange shirt, and that blue brief skirt did not even attempt to correctly cowl the fatness of her prodigious rear or plump thighs. Obscenely stretching around her wide hips, she become like a living sex doll. He became going to faucet that fat bimbo ass, even though it became the final thing he ever did. Why is he watching me like that? The Heartfilia heiress requested in a shaky tone, a dark blush on her cheeks as she attempted to manipulate both her embarrassment at being stared, as well as arousal from the feral starvation at the back of his blue orbs. She could experience him nearly drilling through her clothes and eyeing her endowments with a predatory appearance on his face, and by means of God changed into it, making her pussy drip with lubricating juices. Oh my, I suppose you just located a place in his list, the Strauss heiress giggled softly. In comes an anxious appearance from Lucy. The terrible girl had no idea what sort of torture turned into coming her way within the destiny. It would be a pussy-dripping but mind-shattering torture for the little lady. Prevent gaping at her like a lecherous horned dog. Erza snapped angrily, continuously punching the stupefied redhead on his head, however to no avail. What the hell changed into his frame made off. She should sense the bones of her hand almost cracking from the continuous attack, and he wasn't even fazed. Oh, do not worry, Lucy. He can be a big pervert, but he does not chew. The silver-haired wizard interrupted softly, giggling softly as Erza tried to snap Naruto out of his trance. The least she may want to do turned into comfort the blonde before Naruto began the use of his magic on her. Do not listen to Mira, Naruto sooner or later answered, a huge lecherous grin on his face as he approached the self-conscious blonde. I do chew plenty. Simply ask this spitfire over here. The famous Titania could feel each set of eyes turning on her, as she blushed madly, inwardly suppressing a shiver of arousal as she recalled stated biting. Oh, how those feral biting excited H. And no, this wasn't the time to think about that. Excuse us for some hours. Hi there, wait a minute, I haven't even introduced myself. A huge sweat drop appeared over the guildhall because the wizards watched their resident strongest woman recklessly drag their most powerful wizard like a rag doll out of the constructing, creating a beeline for his or her shared condominium. No question, Best a particular few knew what was going to manifest subsequent, and alas that know-how best made them inwardly curse the two redheads for their success. Slightly getting better from her stupor, the Heartfilia heiress couldn't assist but hole at the entrance like a fish out of water. What simply befell? The only solution she obtained turned into collective groans from the aged wizards and understanding chuckles from both Mira and Kana, while she had no idea what the hell all that changed into approximately. But she guessed it became something grimy if the perverted giggles coming from Mira and Kana had been any indication. Ashibana Station the following morning, Team Natsu, as it became formally called by using the guild, determined themselves hastily drawing near Ashibana Station after you have knowledgeable that the Dark Guild, Eisenwald, had taken manage of it. Similar to the preceding stations, the simplest problem, Naruto failed to appear as he had been informed, and that they have been compelled to clearly go away him at the back of. Powerful he can be. However, the redhead had a very stressful dependency of showing up late, and providing the most ridiculous of reasons for stated tardiness. Erza had yet to chill out from his latest stunt. Naruto arrived simply in time to witness Erza use her exceedingly useful techniques of wondering to gather the vital statistics earlier than approaching the station. Quietly coming near from in the back of, the redhead stealthily sat simply at the back of an unsuspecting Lucy and blatantly ogled her plump in the back of. He would have loved the view of her fat cheeks wobbling deliciously with every unmarried, insignificant movement if he had managed his lecherous giggles. Pervert. Lucy's reaction turned into perfectly everyday, if a tad violent. The busted celestial wizard let cross of a dazed Natsu and rounded up on the pervert ogling her ass, turning in a vicious kick to the belly. What did I do? Eyes widened to not possible proportions. Lucy found out that she had simply kicked Natsu within the face tough sufficient to send him flying away. Hadn't she been supporting the red-haired boy's stroll due to a few lingering results of his movement sickness? How the hell did he even get at the back of her that speedy, feeling moves below her proper arm, which changed into formerly draped over Natsu? The busted blonde almost boiled in anger and embarrassment, as she felt the big hand boldly fondle her breasts, hefting the heavy globes as though examining merchandise. Arms off, pervert. It wasn't me. This time, her right hook connected with a wide-eyed gray, mercilessly connecting together with his left cheek and sending skidding closer to Natsu. I'm sorry. Someone simply groped me, I swear. You guys have no disgrace in any way, Naruto announced from behind the group, gaining the attention of the two wizards. Fondling an innocent novice like that it turned into you. Natsu and Gray shouted in unison, pointing their fingers at him in accusation. The redhead blinked innocently. We just got here, score one for substitution jutsu. Whilst he did not get to fondle the hugely plump cheeks of her fat butt, he did thoroughly look into her titties. Guy have been they tender and perfectly suckable. Fuckable become more loved absolutely. He may want to already photograph sucking her large knockers and drinking her milk like a starved baby. Wait, we? The busted celestial wizard questioned, earlier than her eyes focused on a small nine-tailed fox perched on the redhead's shoulder. From the appears of it, it was actually a female one. Oh, take a look at that cute fox. Who the hell are you calling cute, you blonde cow? I'm the great nine-tailed fox, the strongest of all of the. Just forget about her. A cloud of despair hovered above the voluptuous blonde because the multi-tailed fox ranted her ears off, approximately being the strongest being, and practically called her a cow. It turned into not her fault that she had massive udders. So know your vicinity and kneel before my excellence, you unworthy mortal, the newly named Kurama shouted, angrily stomping her stubby feet upon Naruto's shoulders as she glared at Lucy. You finished? The redhead deadpanned, eyeing his now panting associate with a twitching eyebrow. Yeah, I am performed. What the hell took you? Goodbye. An irritated Titania yelled from the front of the station, stomping closer to them in anger. Appears she turned into done together with her productive wondering. Oh, we have been on our manner to the station whilst we encountered a dark guild and had to fight them. However, then a black cat crossed our path, and we needed to take the long way round, and then. You liar! The two partners' sweat dropped whilst the whole group growled at him, besides a pressured but still frowning Lucy. Anyways, what are we awaiting? The robes-clad redhead declared excitedly before he grew to become to Lucy and scratched the again of his head. Who are you again? What? I'm Lucy. Lamentably, for her, Naruto had already sprinted into the station like a headless fowl, leaving a critically depressed Lucy in the back of. Erza patted the celestial wizard on the back comfortingly. Don't worry, he has a terrible habit of forgetting names and people. Do not allow it get to you. The blonde bombshell nodded unsurely. Yes ma'am, inside welcome. Fairy tale insects. Did that stripping dude just name me an insect? Kurama asked, a big tick mark pulsing on her forehead as she and Naruto entered the principal corridor. Bodies of guards were strewn throughout the floor. No question, work of the Dark Guild. Yup, and you're now not gonna avenge my delight? The tiny fox growled at her associate, who was busy looking at the chief of the guild, while scratching the again of his head. Do I recognize that man? Now and again, now not remembering humans become just so vexing because he didn't understand if he was assembling them for the primary time, or they'd already shared records. How the hell ought to I know? Naruto! Oh howdy sugar titties, the red-headed wizard greeted casually, inflicting Lucy to almost fall on her face from sheer surprise while she heard the nickname. Does that guy appearance familiar to you? If the buster-equipped wizard heard his insulting nickname, she failed to react to it. Sure, Erigor the Reaper. Erigor become a center-aged man with a muscular body and lengthy silver hair, blue tattoos masking his uncovered chest and a giant scythe resting on his shoulder. So quality of you to enroll in us. Titania Erza, is that this you're doing, Erigor? Why are you asking him? It's clean that he did it? Kurama grumbled indignantly, gaining a twitching eyebrow from the buster redhead. Let's simply visit city on their arrogant asses. Let me ask you a question. What do all stations have and not unusual? The half-bear wizard requested smugly, hefting up his scythe as he hovered into the air. He is flying. Satisfied introduced helpfully, the robe-clad redhead became tempted to reward the blue cat for his super abilities of statement to figure that component out. I am sorry, what turned into your question once more? Naruto requested innocently. Any everyday egotistical villain could have been enraged with the aid of his ignorance. However, Erigor changed into no longer such villain. He had sacrificed an excessive amount of to in reality waste his time on mere chit-chat. Guys, I depart these insects on your capable palms. Seeing the shirtless wizard disappear into thin air, Naruto became to his organization, Nutcase and Gay, exit and preserve the civilians as some distance away from the station as viable as Natsu/Gray. They had been lamentably left out, large tick marks pulsing on their foreheads. The two opposing wizards and glad sped in the direction of the go-out door, being accompanied by two of Eisenwald's goons, Sugartits. You comply with the stripper man and preserve him from the usage of whatever the hell it's miles he has, the redhead declared, having already forgotten its call. Juggy and I can deal with those losers. My name is Lucy. Why do I must follow Erigor? Erza complained stiffly, giving her boyfriend a pointed stare. Why the hell did he have such an effect on her? Any regular guy telling her to do something in that stressful tone would have been overwhelmed to a pulp by way of now. However, she couldn't really convey herself to deny the redhead, and it wasn't because he become her boyfriend both. Come here, sweetheart. Naruto gestured flippantly, causing the harassed redhead to stroll towards the robe-clad wizard with a raised eyebrow. The busta Heartfilia Eris blushed purple whilst Naruto hoisted the powerful wizard through her narrow waist, inflicting said redhead to wrap her sturdy legs round Naruto to guide herself. Earlier than their lips met in a passionate kiss, even the wizards of the Dark Guild stopped anything maniacal plans they had for the three to awkwardly stare at the two enthusiasts practically suck each different's faces. So, you have no trouble with following Erigor, right, princess? Naruto growled huskily, eliminating his lips from the redhead's swollen orifice and lightly nibbled on her uncovered neck. And no, Erza answered weakly, tightly hugging the redhead to her neck as she felt the acquainted throbbing of his manhood towards her wet center. True woman, do what praise can be anticipating you when we entire this quest? He requested throatily, adventurous fingers accomplishing down her blue skirt to grab as lots he should of her fat rear as he sucked on her neck through the log. He loved fondling those vastly fat wobbling cheeks of her rear. His palms would constantly disappear into the fat flesh. It had just the proper amount of firmness and delicious fatness for him to experience. Do not even get him started out on her twins. Unluckily she changed into retaining those heaving orbs of scrumptious marshmallow flesh hidden under her armor. Please inform me your favorite meat rod covered in strawberry-flavored frosting and simply looking forward to your hungry, voracious mouth to swallow it entire. Nearly all of the Eisenwald wizards had exceeded out from blood loss, sprawled across the marble floor with wide, stupid grins and flushed cheeks. Lucy became no better. The younger celestial wizard had her pink face covered by means of her palms, now not looking to look at the embarrassing and arousing scene any longer, even though she turned into nevertheless looking from between her fingers as steam poured out of her ears. They may be so indecent and vulgar. Erza could not include the moans of delight escaping her lips as she estimated the scenario and wonderful info. Oh my god. On the way to be only the beginning, princess, because a bucket load of sizzling cream might be ready to meet your urge for food, if you promise to be a very good girl. I will lick your little kitty within the most extreme, toe-curling and dirty manner possible. Naruto purred in delight, giving one remaining suck to the purple flesh before he withdrew his mouth and trendy his handiwork. IW will then cross with one ultimate delicate % at the lips. A grinning Naruto directed his stupefied and lust-drowned partner closer to the top ground, watching as she absent-mindedly kicked a bold wizard within the face after he tried to forestall her. What the hell turned into tea that? Lucy subsequently observed her voice and shouted at the redhead, face nearly prepared to boil from embarrassment. She became never going to confess that she genuinely hated the requipped wizard in the intervening time for what she had received. A simple kiss turned into sufficient to make the Titania almost lose her mind. Simply what form of abilities did this man have? She desperately desired to recognize the overall extent of his information. She can be the strongest girl wizard of fairy tale, however she is virtually helpless against grimy speak and any type of PDA. The redhead answered cheekily, flashing her victory sign. I swear her gullibility and innocence is simply freaking lovable sometimes. This is no longer what I intended. Do not you understand that doing stuff like that in public is indecent? The busted blonde yelled indignantly. Oh, don't worry, honey knockers, we failed to rut like bunnies, so that you have to be grateful for that, Naruto retorted casually, blissfully waving off the busted blonde's glare for the nickname. Where is my grumpy vixen? She have been right here just a few minutes ago, taking out these assholes even as you had been busy gentle soaping that red-headed hussy, Kurama introduced dryly, huffing in infantile annoyance as she sat upon a pile of subconscious Eisenwald wizards. Tea that became speedy. The various partners, Lucy needed to admit she felt out of league, on two fronts. For one, the redhead become the biggest pervert she had ever encountered and become certainly a success, one with real talents to sales space. If Erza's flabbergasted expression was something to go through, and his tiny nine-tailed partner, who was several instances smaller than her, she would possibly upload, had taken a whole mob of dark wizards all by means of herself without breaking a sweat. Desirable activity. Kurama, remind me to give you a deal with when we get again, Naruto exclaimed nonchalantly, giving his nine-tailed associate a thumbs up. Come on, Jiggles, let's move. The call is Lucy, get it right. Oh make how? Naruto met Erza. For the closing time, I'm no longer Kushina Uzumaki, my call is Erza Scarlet of Fairy Tale. An irritated redhead grumbled angrily as she crossed her arms over a pair of armor-covered breasts. I'm neither her dual sister nor her lengthy misplaced daughter. I do not even recognize her, for crying out. Unnecessary to mention, the famous Titania turned into stuck explaining to a handsome however clingy fellow redhead that she had no relation to this Kushina. He continuously said he were minding his very own enterprise and transferring a few of the populace before his eyes had determined her, and now she become caught with him. Come on, do not funny story with me, Naruto whined childishly as he accompanied the redhead via the busy town each of them were coincidentally staying in. Kurama consents with me. No, I don't. I mainly advise you that this red-headed hussy became now not everywhere near similar to my former. But did you listen to the strong and delightful queen of the... Naruto overlooked her ranting. All too familiar with Kurama's haughty mindset, he dared absolutely everyone to forestall the tiny woman fox from completing her holy speech once she commenced. Erza, but did no longer take kindly to being called a hussy and glared on the nevertheless speak me fox. What did you call me, you furball? Even as the crimson fox had meant to roar like a strong beast, simplest a hissy yelp got here from her lips as she stomped round on Naruto's shoulder and glared daggers on the female knight. Do not you dare name the almighty queen of the... We have become off topic right here, Urka. It is Erza. Are you Kushina Uzumaki or not? Naruto finished regardless, a frowning pout on his lips as he stared on the fuming redhead expectantly. Oh my god, you two are so traumatic. I am now not Kushina Uzumaki, I'm Erza fucking Scarlet. The Busta Knight screamed in frustration, not able to handle the stress of being again and again asked a single query for the final hour or so. I don't know her and I don't know you, so accurate buy and break out from me. So is that a yay or nay at the complete being Kushina Uzumaki ordeal? Naruto requested again, a large sweat drop sliding down his head when Erza fisted her hair in irritation and ran to her resort room. To procure your solution? His cunning partner asked blankly as they watched Erza typhoon into the inn like a bat out of hell. I am now not satisfied, the redhead retorted determinedly, a deliberating appearance crossing his functions. I will need to research nicely, and the most effective manner I will do this is via being close to her. You gotta be kidding me? She did say she was from fairy ass proper? Fairy tale equal factor really anything, so? We're gonna find out more about this fairy ass and be part of the small fox sweat dropped. Here we move again, having treated the goons of the Darkish Guild, or rather after Kurama beat them into the ground by using herself whilst he had been busy with Erza. Naruto along with his two group pals strode alongside the corridors for his or her goals, especially one Erigor the Reaper, or according to Naruto what is his call? The group of three arrived simply in time to witness Natsu futilely attempting to break via a wind barrier surrounding the station. With his bare arms, he turned into no longer the brightest most of the organization. That become for certain. What's up there, men? Naruto introduced casually as he approached the group. Kurama perched on his shoulder as continually, and the use of the flaps of his tunic like her private bed as she peered down at the wizards like her submissive topics. In which is Eremore the stripper? He escaped and trapped us within the station, Erza responded flippantly, not bothered by using his habit of constantly forgetting parts or whole names of individuals, someday even arising with different ridiculous substitutes inclusive of the cutting-edge one he gave to the Eisenwald wizard. A wind barrier the redhead referred to as he located the ferocious wind surrounding the station. What are we gonna do? Lucy mumbled anxiously. This becomes supposed to be her first quest, and she became already neck-deep in trouble. Maybe joining Fairy Tail wasn't this sort of exact concept in any case. I got it! Happy yelled deafeningly. In comes a tail smack from the purple fox to the lower back of his head in retaliation. The question of how her tail changed into capable of expand all the manner from Naruto's shoulder and feature enough electricity to knock the pussycat to the floor changed into up for debate. Preserve it down, furball. Observe that, the pot calling a kettle black, Lucy muttered under her breath, not noticing the diffused twitch of Kurama's eyebrows. Did you are saying something to me, you blonde cow? The small vixen growled at her, making the blonde heartfilia heiress to deflate in depression once again. No one except Naruto had the right to speak to her like that, and even his transgressions were unnoticed so long as she turned into provided with well-timed fixes. You were announcing something, furball? Naruto probed lightly, providing an harmless smile to the blue exceed. Properly, the little guy had no concept he was an exceed or what that entitled, but he would discover quickly enough. My call is glad, the blue cat retorted depressingly, earlier than perking up and generating a golden key from his little backpack. Take a look at this. Key of the maiden, the celestial wizard gasped. No longer simply any key, however, one of the rare 12 zodiac golden keys. In which did you get that? Virgo gave it to me. Do you get any of this? Naruto requested softly, rubbing the return of his head as he stepped again some feet from the institution and discovered them from afar. Everlu? Virgo? Gorilla female? What the heck? He become careworn as hell, seemingly. The important thing of the maiden belonged to a fat ass known as Duck Everlu, who used it to fight in opposition to Flame Brain. Furball and cow-titties over there, the woman fox explained in an excellent poker-confronted tone, curled up in his tunic atop his shoulder like a cute little package. After you have her ass busted, the gorilla female gave her key to Furball to give to Cowtits for you to sign a settlement together with her. Naruto merely blinked sheepishly. Yeah, that oh so substantially clean clarification did nothing. Now I am even more confused. It really is motive, you're horny, the purple fox replied in a deadpan voice. Let us acknowledge that Kurama, queen of the tailed beasts, turned into no longer one to mince her words. She said them as she noticed them, undeniable and easy. Open gate of the maiden, Virgo. A scantily dressed pink-haired girl, or greater in particular, a lady dressed in a maid's outfit with iron handcuffs round her palms, popped out of the ground, twirling several times in the air earlier than standing before Lucy with a clean expression. Naruto already favored her. He did have an issue for scantily clad maids with huge busts and fat booties, even though she turned into exceedingly average, common as in no longer what he was used to seeing in his maid. However, she had all of the right traits to garner his interest. You summoned me, mistress? Virgo the maiden asked in a clean tone, bowing lowly to the stupefied wizard, and seemingly she preferred being ruled if the manner she addressed the blonde female become any indication. What a coincidence, or maybe maids were just pre-programmed to act like submissive kittens. Who are you? You mean to tell me that you summoned this hussy without even knowing who she is? Kurama snickered from above Naruto's shoulder. Manner to go, Koutitz. You should be proud of those uselessly gigantic udders. My chest has not anything to do with this. Lucy shouted angrily, now not able to take the girl fox's scoffs anymore. She may want to simplest take such a lot of insults thrown at her twins earlier than snapping, and the sarcastic fox turned into pushing the restriction. Why the hell was this tiny fox so in opposition to her, and her chest besides? She hadn't completed anything to her except announcing that she was adorable. That changed into purported to be a compliment. More pressured than ever, the redhead whined childishly as he observed the scene between his friends and the newcomer. You ought to be even hornier than I first expected. Shut up, Kurama. Naruto snapped flatly, inflicting the fox to huff childishly as she jumped down from his shoulder and landed on a disgruntled Lucy. The redhead walked up to the main group and attempted to apprehend the scenario of the station with a cutely careworn expression. Meanwhile, Lucy became giving the haughty woman fox the stink eye. Despite the fact that the cute however prideful fox became seated on her shoulder, she acted like it belonged to her. You have got something on your mind, cowknockers? Why are you so towards me? The big-breasted girl asked pointedly, giving the nine-tailed vixen a flat stare while attempting not to react to her pressured nickname. I haven't done you any wrong, and besides calling me that call could be very rude. The self-proclaimed queen shrugged her shoulders. It would take an excessive amount of time to explain why she did things the manner she did, and alas for the blonde lady, she had no time on her palms. It is my way of pronouncing that I care you do. Nope, not clearly, the celestial deadpanned, suppressing an annoyed sigh at the fox's rude statement. Good enough. That topic failed splendidly. Now what? Howdy, why is Naruto appearing like that? I mean, he forgot my name the second I told him. That happens while he's sexy, Kurama responded blankly, setting her head on her the front paws and wrapping nine tails around her lovely form atop the busted blonde's shoulder, as she stared at her pressured partner. Poor guy. He changed into struggling at the moment. She should not have permit that redhead wizard try to manage his habitual milking appearance where that were given them. Her associate become confused as hell, and it was all thanks to that red-headed hussy who thought she ought to deal with his morning loads by means of herself. Egotistical bitches and their egotistical troubles of self-assurance. I'm as sorry what? He is stressed while his balls are full, the nine-tailed vixen grumbled heatedly. She become already annoyed enough as it become, and this blonde bimbo was making her scenario worse by way of asking silly questions. What a part of that did you not understand? No matter how embarrassed she become by way of having this conversation with a fox of all things, she changed into nevertheless curious. The belief changed into interesting in a weird kind of manner. She had to get all the data she may want to get her arms on concerning the redhead enigma. For her novel, of course. So he has been excited when you consider that the day passed? The small fox nodded lightly, purple slitted eyes uninteresting into the shape of her accomplice with searing depth. Sadly, yes, normally. I drain every last drop of spunk from his nuts before a mission, however I did not get the hazard to accomplish that these days. In view that we're in a rush, definitely she didn't get a hazard to achieve this due to the fact the red-headed hussy hogged her man all night, and whilst she dropped subconscious, it became too late for her to suck out her favorite milk at once from the source. She might have forced Erza away if she had so needed, however Naruto had specifically told her no longer to, due to the fact the redhead woman had been gone on a week-long task and wanted her own unique time with her man. What? Lucy stuttered with extensive eyes, ears barely able to trust what she had just heard. Did she simply pay attention? The fox say that she drained Naruto's sperm from his balls every day before a project? No, she must have misheard the little vixen. I'm sorry, ought you repeat that once more? I suppose I misheard you. She have to have misheard Kurama. In the end, the little nine-tailed animal couldn't likely be implying that she was intimate with the tall redhead, right? Due to the fact that sounded incorrect from all views. And that right there may be why I'm in opposition to you people, the lovely fox grumbled annoyingly. You do not recognize easy phrases. I trip his freakishly fat stick and milk his meat for every drop of cock milk he has saved up in the one's large balls of his. Does that sound clear enough to the one's vain udders of yours? Unluckily, for the nine-tailed vixen, Lucy most effective heard the insult directed at her titties and growled like a beast. Prevent speaking about my chest. Clover, Canyon, how oftentimes do I have to inform you? I'm not your horse. Oh come on Kurama, don't be so dramatic, leaving the team in the back of to settle certain scores, consisting of taking one of the Eisenwald wizards as a hostage and locating a way to technique the supposed target of Erigor. Naruto and Kurama determined to move in advance and intercept the naked wizard before he may want to attain Clover, and accordingly got here the final obstacle, a way to Tur. Clearly, Naruto desired Kurama to transform into her horse-length form and let him experience her back. The chakra beast did not appreciate being used as a transportation device and was brazenly arguing with the redhead for the reason that start of the trip, which became 5 minutes in the past. The simplest time you can experience me is while I'm in my human shape, and that fat's cock of yours is ruining my guts. Lamentably, for the lovely beast, she couldn't carry herself to say no to the redhead's pouty face, and caved in effortlessly. However, there has been no manner in hell anybody become going to forestall her from complaining about it. Your fur is so soft and cuddly, Naruto muttered softly, lying face first onto the crimson mattress of fur and nuzzling the fox's neck like an excited youngster. Are without a doubt, even her fox shape become now not proof against the feelings of embarrassment and satisfaction as a ting of redness flashed on Kurama's cheeks. I imply, of course, it's Miles. What did you assume? I'm able to sleep on your return for all eternity, the redhead persisted as his partner blurred through the mountain passes in breakneck velocity in the direction of the meeting hall of the masters, and Kurama's thoughts instantly jumped to the simplest possibility that could probably concern her. Him dozing for all eternity could suggest that she won't get hold of any shape of love and ardor from him at all. That did now not take a seat properly with the historic fox as she glared at her associate, A International, in which she doesn't get her everyday dose of beastly pounding, some but ramming insanity and throat-clogging meat rods, observed via several thick masses of scorching Uzumaki seed shouldn't even exist. No manner in hell. How am I going to get my fixes in case you sleep on my lower back for all eternity? Naruto deadpanned. Seriously? Intercourse changed into all she changed into concerned about? Way to destroy the mood, you grumpy fox. Close up. The man is right ahead. Naruto trailed off suspiciously, recognizing a discern on the away's end of the canyon. You forgot his name, did not you? Shut up. Certainly Erigor was proper in advance, standing on the railways like he had simply conquered the entire International. The lovely fox had a few extreme troubles with humans smirking like that, especially at her or Naruto, but while a person smirked like that at both of them, then it changed into secure to mention that he had zero probabilities of survival. Welcome fairy tale ends. The shirtless darkish wizard did no longer get sufficient time to complete his sentence earlier than a furry tail came blurring closer to his area and struck him straight within the own family items, earning an excessive pitch girly squeal from the silver-haired man as he stumbled, became and thrashed on the tough floor of the railways, even as masking his balls. You understand. It's commonplace courtesy to permit him end his monologue, the redhead added in a sympathetic tone, feeling pity for the dark wizard as he clutched at his guy goods and whimpered like a wounded dog. Yeah, he ought to in all likelihood pass having kids from his bucket listing, if he survived this. Come across that. I used to be no longer about to permit him call me an insect a second time, the horse-sized fox huffed haughtily, inwardly smirking in triumph as she watched her handiwork. Oh, how she enjoyed making human beings like Erigor weep like cornered rabbits ready to be wolfed with the aid of her fangs. For a cute little fox, you certain are sadistic as hell. How oftentimes do I have to say it? You do not cope with the queen of tailed beasts as adorable. The stunning purple fox roared at her companion, giving him a searing appearance of absolute annoyance over her shoulders. Now get off me, you lazy jerk. Add a bossy whinge to that list, the robe-clad redhead muttered underneath his breath, leaping off the tall fox with a pout. Sadly for him, Kurama's ears were more sensitive than he remembered. Who the fuck are you calling a complaint? You taking walks, tomato? And also you with ease left out the bossy part, huh? I'll show you bossy when we get back, you pompous jerk. The converted Kurama returned to her cat-sized form and jumped directly to his shoulder, a tick mark pulsing on her lovely face. You owe me a week worth of consistent reading after we're achieved right here. What? Did you virtually think I'd let you journey me like your non-public horse and not ask for something in return? Oh, how he'd driven all of the proper buttons inside the worst of times. Her associate knew precisely what to mention and while to say them to get beneath her pores and skin. The bastard used those abilities to make her pass on a senseless rampage several instances through the years simply to peer how far he could push it, and then go back. Her phrases did nothing. He continuously ignored her taunts or responded to them with a bored expression that drove her mad. As a minimum, the redhead became excellent within the sack and knew just the points to attain in an effort to render her comatose from satisfaction. He had competencies, critical, mind-numbing, toe-curling and pussy-quivering talents while it got here to rocking her global. She continually vented out her frustration by way of using him like a lady possessed by using the devil and constantly milking his rod for her creamy treat, and when she could not pass, she truly let the redhead fuck her to his coronary heart's content until he become happy. Let's discuss that in a while. The stripper is wide awake, Naruto stated idly, without difficulty ignoring her annoyed growls as he determined the silver-haired wizard groggily arise on shaky feet and lean on his scythe for aid. With fiery anger burning in his eyes, you'll pay for that, you little fiend! Erigor tangled up angrily, eyes targeted on the yawning fox resting among the flaps of his red-headed opponent's robe. Naruto changed into quick to interfere before Kurama something extremely dramatic. Appearance man, prevent threatening her and neglect about this trouble until you want her to crush what stays of your goodies. I knew you were compensating for something else after I saw that big scythe. Now I understand, because there has been no longer a lot to overwhelm the primary time. The beautiful fox could not help but add with a smug smirk. Despite the genuineness in his tone, Erigor mistook the phrases as danger to his power and dispatched a raging wall of twisting winds immediately at him. Or maybe he turned into pissed off because not best did the adorable fox overwhelm his balls, however also wondered his manhood. Naruto's mind immediately forgot approximately the detrimental wall of wind coming at them like an immovable avalanche and focused on something the tiny electricity assemble said, "Wait a minute, you felt his junk?" "No, I didn't." Striking a male in the nuts as a shape of assault did not be counted as feeling his sweets, did it? How did you know there has been now not an awful lot to weigh down while you did not even sense him? 2. The opposite side of the railways. Erigor became one giant tick mark with the aid of himself as he listened to the idly talking partners ignoring his attack find it irresistible changed into nothing. Why the hell was his wind wall moving so slowly? He couldn't take it to any extent further and accumulated his magic strength within the tip of the scythe, launching numerous extensive variety power blades at once at the two wizards with an enraged roar. "Prevent talking approximately my manhood." Unluckily, he had no idea who he become fighting towards. The darkish wizard watched in horrifying fascination as an unmarried tail from the tiny fox shot forth and disintegrated his energy blades into tiny specks of strength, observed by means of his wind wall imploding upon itself by way of an easy look from the redhead close up. "We are in a few serious communique over here," Naruto grumbled as he turned back to the tiny fox who had a large tick mark pulsing on her forehead. "In which have been we?" Kurama sighed in resignation earlier than a devious concept fashioned in her mind. "You were saying how lots you like me providing you with a trip and the way you have been going to take me like a beast as soon as we're carried out with this quest. Please work." "Please work, adequate. Then, prepare yourself for a very difficult and deep-reading consultation after this," the robe-clad redhead retorted casually, earning extensive smirk from the foxy fox. "Due to the fact while I'm performed along with your slutty pussy, you are gonna have hassle status instantly, not to mention stroll hell yeah. Score 1 for the queen," Kurama mused gleefully, inwardly cackling like an evil scientist on the point of dissect a poor concern, in which is the fellow we were preventing in opposition to. "And don't give me that look because I don't want to. Don't forget his name," the redhead wizard muttered under his breath, directing a warning look closer to his foxy associate earlier than she may want to reprimand him about forgetting the man's name. Wherein was he anyway? Over there, tasting the floor. The beautiful fox giggled amusingly as she pointed to a silhouette inside the distance, lying face first on the difficult floor of the railways. The explosion from the wind wall must have knocked out the silver-haired wizard. What a waste of time. "Now, about my reward," The self-proclaimed queen of the tailed beasts left her sentence incomplete, while Naruto grew to become in the direction of one stop of the railways and narrowed his eyes at the space, observing a blurring magi-mobile rapid coming near them. Strangely enough, the magic-eating vehicle zipped beyond them like a drunk insanely excessive on alcohol. That pineapple head seemed acquainted needless. Kurama became just about prepared to go on a rampage for being continuously denied of her rightful and deserved pounding, Clover Convention Hall and over again. I'm being used as a method of transportation. Quiet your complaining. I am now not accepting anything less than 2 weeks of rutting after this insult. You cannot even stay aware to revel in the primary day. How dare you? The team at the back of the arguing partners couldn't assist, however sweat dropped as they progressively approached the meeting corridor. Kurama had once more converted into her horse-sized form after much deliberation, on the whole due to her reluctance to allow any other except Naruto on her lower back. Guarantees of several steamy marathons of pounding and a unique _Queenworth special _date later. The converted queen generic at the condition that simplest Erza and Lucy is authorized to sit down on her returned. She positioned her foot down on not permitting other adult males. Now not that Naruto was ever going to allow any man even touch her, let alone journey her lower back. The tailed beast changed into even reluctant to permit Lucy for the reason that little bimbo obviously fancied her king, and she hated absolutely everyone even remotely inquisitive about her guy. Even Erza and others who had gotten a taste of the redhead, regardless the notion of being hammered for several days straight, and then taken on a date worthy of a queen along with herself, satisfied the beautiful fox to permit the blonde girl to trip her. Natsu and Gray were left to their personal gadgets. Greater like terrible Gray was left to his gadgets. Natsu had glad as his accomplice and generously made use of his associate's wings to keep pace with the blurring fox. Gray had to stroll miserably, and ultimately take the train, while it changed into reopened for travel, where here in contrast to other times, Kurama did no longer wait for her riders to softly soar off, as she promptly converted underneath them and gleefully watched as they fell on their butts. As she had anticipated, Naruto became already aware about her plan and results easily landed on his toes, no longer even acknowledging her prank. Sadly, Erza, because of her revel in and instincts, changed into also able to collect herself and land on her toes at the same time as giving the innocently whistling fox a searing appearance. What Kurama loved the most changed into looking as Koutitz gave off a high-pitched squeal and fell to the ground on her fat butt. Serves the bimbo proper for even daring to keep in mind her self-worth of riding the queen of tailed beasts. Ah, are you harm? What is the use of that fat bimbo, as if it can't even cushion your fall? The tiny fox taunted innocently, jumping onto her king's shoulder at the same time as retaining the whimpering blonde below the point of interest of her pink eyes. And right here I thought your large udders were useless, you're against my but now, Aoi. Kurama watched in gleeful pride because the blonde wizard let her sentence incomplete because of searing ache from her bruised behind, cupping her thick cheeks in pain as she rolled round. Erza, Natsu and a worn-out Gray left the clearing as quickly as they arrived and went through the woodland closer to Makarov, who turned into speaking with the Eisenwald wizard that escaped their grasp. Naruto shook his head in resignation and approached the whimpering celestial wizard, much to the confusion and protest of the tiny fox as she found out what he was approximately to do, ignoring the lovely fox biting his ear and pulling the flesh along with her tiny enamel. The robe-clad redhead kneeled beside the blonde and neared his hand in the direction of her at the back of. Lucy was tempted to kick the tall redhead within the nuts for even deliberating groping her in any such state of affairs, however stopped whilst she noticed a mild green electricity surround his hand and felt the pain rippling through her posterior forestall. All of a sudden, you healed me. How? The celestial wizard gasped in wonder, as she sat down generally and touched her now unaching but with a curious expression. Were not only sky dragon slayers able to restoration magic? Kurama groaned in frustration, and seemed away from the redhead with a lovable pout on her vulpine face. No longer how, however, why? I simply did, the blue-eyed wizard spoke back in a cheeky tone, earning a blush from the busted blonde as she found out how near the person become to her, and the way clearly she ought to see the feelings in his captivating cerulean eyes. Thanks, no marvel Erza become enamored with this man. He was pushing her buttons without even understanding it. If this endured, quite quickly he could be pushing a few surely fleshy buttons above and underneath her waist, among other matters. Just then a thundering laughter crammed the environment of the forest. Insignificant magic circle materialized in the sky inside the midst of cackling yellow lightning, capturing the eye of all those within the range of its perception. The proper shape of Lullaby is eventually right here. Naruto, Kurama and a now completely healed Lucy arrived at the scene just before the flute floated into the air and disintegrated into specks of power earlier. Then a towering, extremely wood creature took its vicinity before the amassed wizards. The genuine, demonic or ethereous shape was an extremely tall beast, effortlessly towering over the hall and the encompassing mountains with 3 soulless black eyes and severe cutouts in its frame. That is Lullaby's genuine form. A maid of forbidden black magic created by means of the darkish wizard Zereth, the master of Quattro Cerberus, announced in a grim tone. Growing the issues of all gift, the environment turned into hectic and annoying. So annoying in fact that Makarov barely paid interest to his most powerful subordinate status some toes away from him and simply looked at the looming demon in anxiety. Why is that aspect smiling so much? And the annoying surroundings become gone in a flash, significantly? It truly is your takeaway? Lucy shouted in indignation as she gaped at the curious redhead. They were freaking out over its appearance, and the robe-clad wizard had a trouble with its smiles. The factor turned into smiling as it turned into going to kill them. Now which of these delectable souls shall I banquet on first? The towering demon thundered ominously, trailing its gaze over the gathered assembly of effective wizards before its eyes discovered a sure redhead at the back of the crowd. Looking at it with a careworn expression, that man appeared acquainted. It had not visible the redhead before, however something about his energy became disturbingly familiar. Are you a male or lady? Lullaby. In addition to the assembled wizards blinked numerous times to properly mull over the question before they drew a blank. What? This simply got out of hand. Forgetting names is one issue, but you cannot even differentiate among a dick and a pussy now. Kurama answered in a concerned but irritated tone as she gave her associate a pointed look. Close up, Kurama. This is not what I intended. The red-haired wizard grumbled in indignation, a tick mark pulsing on his temple whilst his friends and partners set free collective sighs of relief. Traitors all of them. That component talks like a person and lady at the equal time. The stunning fox chuckled sheepishly. Oh. The scene became hastily becoming a comical one as Lullaby shifted uncomfortably, not able to reply the awkward query at the same time as the now equally curious wizards waited for its answer. Properly, you notice, considering the fact that I am a demon. I do not have any gender. Naruto changed into not having any of it, and gave the uncomfortable large a searing appearance. Demons have genders, being in the center of attention from beings it consider under, coupled with the reality that it was being interrogated via said being like a trifling baby. Lullaby was yet again reminded of its motive of regaining this shape and roared just like the demon it became. Sufficient of this foolishness, time to die. As though to show its seriousness, and to thrust back the awkwardness of the state of affairs, the large beast fired off a large electricity blast into the space and fully obliterated an entire mountain, lowering the structure into nothing but chunks of overwhelmed stones, furball and jugs. Get all and sundry to a secure area far away from the battlefield, the blue-eyed wizard said firmly, the tone of his voice no room for retorts as he became to the blue exceed and Lucy, nutcase, gay and sugar titties, allowed the transgender have it. Lucy or extra like the referred to individuals have been all tempted to voice their protests towards the insulting names given to them. However, considering the scenario they have been in, retaining quiet and doing what he had stated become the most logical desire. Yes, sir. The 3 wizards promptly attacked in unison, pouring attack after assault at the irritated demon. Why do you have got your tails posed for an assault? Naruto asked in a pointed tone as he turned to his companion and raised an eyebrow at her improved tails geared up to strike someone. The stunning fox chuckled sheepishly and looked away with a flush-faced pout, innocently lowering her cute little tails. I thought you had been speaking about me while you stated. Furball, the fairy tale wizard's sweat dropped at her solution. You've got a few serious troubles. Vixen, do not decide me, damn it. The blue-eyed redhead watched in fond fascination as Gray used his maker magic to constantly distract the beast from specializing in either Erza or Natsu, while stated wizards used precision assaults to reduce and burn the wooden beast. However, their fight changed into kinda boring to observe. Besides, for ogling Erza trade clothes and display her thick, milf-worthy assets to his eyes, he could watch her milk tanks jiggle in her skimpy tops, and the juicy wobbling of her hugely meaty ass all day long. I have had enough of your imprudence, you tiny bugs. Lullaby roared in outrage, throwing its head again and at once sucking out the life pressure of the surrounding shrubbery in an elevated tempo. One tone and your souls can be mine to eat. Not. Anything foremost took place besides the reverberation of stressful sounds on which Naruto became quick to remark, "Did you just fart?" Almost. Gaping like a fish out of water, Lullaby looked around its body in awkward silence. With ease ignoring Naruto's insulting accusation, "Why cannot I play my melody of death? If we would been any nearer, those farts would have been extra effective than any melody," the gown-clad redhead commented cheekily, inflicting big tick marks to sprout at the wood demon's temple. "You should be feeling so relieved right now you dare mock me." An huge explosion of fire roared around the accumulated wizards, threatening to erase every single one among them out of lifestyles amidst its burning include. Gray jumped into the fray and erected a shield of ice to save you the flames from harming the masters while Natsu gleefully feasted on the inferno. "This is sufficient." A hand located on Erza's shoulder prevented the fiery redhead from attacking the demon once again as Naruto stepped forward and allowed Kurama right down to the floor. Lullaby changed into too quick to sigh in alleviation as it turned into spared from the prickling attacks from all aspects. Ignorant of its impending doom because the three wizards sponsored away and let the redhead take subjects into his hands that can handle one traumatic human instead of the one's pesky bugs. "You ought to be quite complete of yourself if you think you can take." The demon's more than one eyes widened in surprise as the redhead blurred from his place and appeared proper in the front of his face in a matter of seconds, no longer giving it the time to realize his speed before a mountain-shattering punch related with its face and dispatched the significant beast hurling through the panorama. Wow. Lucy had heard testimonies of the redhead's power, however hadn't simply seen him in movement. It wasn't her fault, definitely, because it became tough to image the forgetful boy because the maximum effective wizard fairy tale has ever visible. Even the ones were memories. Phrases of the mouth and may be twisted by the narrator's imagination to match their wishes. What she was seeing truly handed the ridiculousness of those memories, in the end. How many people may want to brag about sending a massive demon hurling through miles of land with a single punch? The wizards and one aroused-tailed beast watched as Lullaby tried to stand up on shaky feet, but, unable to achieve this as a pink blur connected with its torso and drilled the beast deep into the floor, shaking the very basis of the woodland with every linked strike. They had been too far away to listen something, however the big size of the demon, and its movement made it easy for the wizards to peer what become taking place. Simply, Naruto changed into prevailing. Lullaby, too vulnerable and wounded to face well, had no desire but to take the strikes and pray that the redhead provided the opportunity to at the least rise up. Any speck of wish it had in its heartless soul vanished whilst the demon took a look at its opponent's eyes. He knew those purple, ripple-pattern eyes. The electricity, the pink eyes with extraordinary 9 dots located on circular black earrings and the pink hair. "I am possible. Why you cannot be, however how?" Alas. For the demon, Naruto was in no temper to meet its curiosity and floated above the downed beast with a knowing smirk, hearth fashion. Majestic destroyer flame, the massive circulate of burning inferno linked with the demon and burned it into unrecognizable pile of ashes amidst a partially burned woodland, ending the proud creation of Zerif once and for all. Some days later. Pricey diary. It's been some days seeing that our return from Clover Cannon and Aspect have slowly calmed down over the week. No longer best did we grab headlines over the land for beating Lullaby but additionally for destroying the meeting hall. Grasped Makarov changed into nearly comatose from shock. Happy almost had us killed in the Web Valley but fortuitously Naruto managed to guide us home. The guy is quite bizarre. No longer capable of recollect names or humans but having great experience of route. Putting down her pen, Lucy in brief skimmed over the contents of the writing and set it apart on a pile as she leaned into her chair. By accident puffing out her massive chest. Fairy tales surely become one loopy, however top-notch skilled. She had more amusing journey and lifestyles threatening accidents in these few days in view that joining than her entire life. Every person was just, eccentric and friendly. In spite of their crazy and negative dispositions, they made her feel home without doing something. The craziness reached an entire new level whilst Naruto became brought into the equation. Who might have guessed that the man, who could not even keep in mind the call of his girlfriend, was virtually capable of unmarried-handedly killing a demon? Getting off her chair, the celestial wizard moved closer to her toilet, paused on washing her concerns away with a pleasing relaxing soak in the tub. Even now she couldn't the photograph of the redhead spewing out an considerable wave of scorching inferno from his mouth and burning the demon into ashes, not to say the colossal power he confirmed whilst the unmarried Punch sent the massive beats flying like weightless doll. Such feats took unbelievable energy, one which Naruto had. After seeing him kill Lullaby by way of himself in the span of a minute, she turned into inclined to believe whatever stated about him. Speaking of the redhead, she hadn't seen him for the reason that day they returned to the guild. However, if she took the verbal exchange he and the fox had at the same time as shifting closer to the meeting corridor, it became safe to assume that they had been busy someplace. She had no idea how she felt approximately Naruto being intimate with an animal. Wow, those knockers' appearance even bigger without clothes talk of the devil, and he underscore or in this case, she underscore shall appear. A tick mark pulsing on her forehead and a blush threatening to overhaul her body. Lucy quick grabbed the closest item she may want to find to hide her modesty with and shifted towards the door of the bathroom. What the hell are you doing in my? You might want to shut your mouth unless you want bugs to make a nest in there. Lucy became too stunned to shut her eyes, let alone select up her dropped jaws from the floor as she gaped on the latest form of the fox. Should she even call her a fox now? Due to the fact standing right earlier than her become what could be taken into consideration the epitome of feminine perfection. Sinfully seductive shape absolutely nude for her eyes to look at, the lady had long, silky reddish-orange hair achieving all of the manner down to her lower back in a manner reminiscent of a waterfall. A pair of fox ears jutting from the edges of her head to further enhance the exoticness of her appearance. Slitted pink eyes stared at her in open entertainment and smugness. A smile of mischief gambling on her complete, pouty, cock-sucking lips. With lips like those she ought to suck all of us balls right through their shafts comfortably. Then came the strength of the fact that this woman possessed a couple of tits so massive that they made Erza's chest seem flat in evaluation, a long way surpassing her very own breasts. Large, meaty titties bulged out onto the front of her torso like hills amidst a flat terrain. Oddly enough, the large boobs suitable her tall form, performing every day and suitable for her stature. So too did the abs on her flat belly. The flare of her otherworldly huge hips turned into enough to make any man need to immediately have the girl kneeling before him and mount them for all eternity. Lengthy, muscularly feminine legs stretched out for miles and thick Amazonian thighs flexed in stress. And ultimately came the ass. Every different female she knew or heard of paled in contrast on the chest branch by using some miles, even Erza and Mira. But the ass branch becomes something else. A few thousand miles turned into going to be a real understatement. The redhead's giant, juicy ass meat gave completely new which means to the word extra thick, round. Fat's globes got here collectively to shape a coronary heart-shaped juicy mass of ass meat. The busted celestial wizard doubted any normal get-dressed could ever keep her assets without being stretched lewdly or tearing into shreds to allow the gigantic meat burst out in all its fuckable glory. And had been the ones, tails at the back of her? The thick girl had 9 bushy tails sprouting from her tailbone, and waving in the back of her in a hypnotic manner. You may stop drooling now, the converted fox announced in a certainly seductive tone as she glided forth like a predator prowling for her prey. My, Naruto was right. You are a delectable little morsel. Okay, Kurama, is that why you? Lucy mumbled in wonder as she tried to appearance anywhere but the foxy girl's big breasts, or thick thighs, or purple pussy lips, or something. No longer a lesbian. Now not a lesbian. In reality now not a lesbian. The poor blonde wizard turned into caught desperately chanting the chant over and over again to persuade herself that she turned into now not. Drawn to the MILF's brilliant shape, inside the flesh Kurama purred seductively, status a trifling foot far away from the busted blonde as her purple eyes roamed over her thick determined, sensitive slithering out of her mouth to lick a couple of purple lips in approval. We've got so much to speak about. Why do not you eliminate that pesky towel and be a part of me within the bath? What? I'm not doing that. Lucy stuttered incredulously, subconsciously hugging the towel even toward her shape as she attempted to lower back away. The fox queen narrowed her red eyes in mischievous mirth. Take off your towel and join me inside the tub like an awesome lady, or... The tailed beast left her wrist striking, making sure to position enough stress into her voice to make her message clear to the blonde female. Needless to mention it worked, as though on whole autopilot. Lucy quickly found herself naked because the day she became born and inside the tub with the busted lady. Cute little face almost boiling from embarrassment. The busted blonde became seated among the queen's thick Amazonian legs, fingers meekly settled on her thighs to cover her womanhood, narrow again leaning in opposition to the redhead and cushioned in opposition to the fat, milk-filled globes of her tit flesh. The MILF fox had no such meekness, and changed into brazenly rubbing her palms up and down the blonde wizard's lower back, idly walking up her shoulders, down her sides and all down her tailbone. Happily for Lucy, Kurama turned into now not accomplishing for her private parts, at the least no longer but, so tell me Lucy, what do you watched of my husband? Kurama asked in a tender whisper as she ran her sensitive arms up and down the busted blonde's facets. Wait, and Naruto is your husband? Good enough. That became new and similarly as surprising as locating out that Kurama genuinely has a drop-useless fantastic human shape, and that the woman fox definitely known as her with the aid of her real call. The MILF fox shrugged idly. Nicely, technically we haven't married officially, but I do not require a puny human priest or a written announcement to make him mine. Such customs are totally silly. I've carried out the entirety a wife would do along with her husband besides bearing him a toddler. Yes, she did no longer need to recognize that remaining part. Oh, adequate. Now tell me, little woman, do you find my husband suitable? What? I do not like repeating myself, the tailed beast queen purred into her ear, snaking her arms around to grab the blonde's big mammaries and boldly fondle the perky orbs. An awful lot to the arousal and surprise of stated wizard. Do you locate my husband acceptable? Does he invoke an unquenchable lust in you? Does his very presence arouse every cellular for your young frame? Does he make you thirst for his essence? And no, please prevent. Lucy voiced out through strangled gasps as the MILF pinched her erect nipples, expertly playing with her meaty breasts, and respiratory hot air down on her shoulders to make her clench her thighs in arousal. This is wrong. This turned into so wrong and so pleasing on the identical time. She should experience a knot forming inside the pits of her belly, regularly pulling her mind into places strange to her younger imagination because the queen played along with her knockers like her personal playthings. You already know. I really like you, more than that little hussy Erza, the fat-butted queen whispered seductively, expertly fondling the female's exceptionally fat breasts with one hand and moving any other all the way down to the treasure between her thick legs, causing the blonde to gasp in surprise as a single finger entered her cunt. You are like a doll, adorably cute and so fun to play with, and no please don't. And no longer there the heartphilia heiress may want to sense herself being driven in the direction of her explosive climax. Eyes extensive open and teeth gritted in delight as a single digit moved inside and out of her pussy in a way that no dildo nor vibrator should even desire to move. The toilet turned into packed with moans of pleasure, thrashing limbs squirming in sweet pleasure, and the telltale signs of a hand gradually finger-fucking a young pussy into orgasm, scratching towards the most touchy of spots in the fleshy hole. Are you ready to come, little female? Kurama purred seductively, regularly growing the pace of her middle finger fucking the girl's tight cunt even as her different hand persisted to tug, fondle and pinch her fat jugs. Tell your queen what you want. The busta heartphilia's thoughts became too clouded by way of lust and a thirst for carnal of entirety to care any more as she moaned and writhed in ecstasy. Please make me come, make me squirt like a slut, I'll do a something please. Desirable lady. The fat-stick fox smiled seductively, blurring her delicate finger into the busted girl's tight pussy like a jackhammer, and kind of squeezing her meaty breast as she decreased down and sucked on the delicate flesh of her collar. Come for me, little woman, come in. Your queen Lucy did as she turned into advised. Explosively, 9 stunning tails shot up and wrapped the squirming blonde wizard as her love hole was finger-fucked by using the queen into submission, and an explosive torrent of pussy juice squirted out of her cunt. Kurama gently held the squirming celestial wizard as she got here like a woman who had been disadvantaged of carnal pride for years, maintaining her tightly wrapped in among her tails like a cocoon, mouth extensive open in a soundless scream, sensitive limbs wriggling in pleasure, pussy twitching periodically within the aftermath of the explosive orgasm. Lucy's eyes rolled to the return of her head and he or she slumped dead in opposition to the red-headed queen's massive milk tanks. Said queen smirked in approval and pulled out her finger from the properly fingered cunt, retracting her tails far away from the blonde lady as she rested towards her meaty knockers with a peaceful smile on her glad face. How cute your love for little ladies is gonna get you and me in trouble in the future. Naruto introduced from the entrance of the restroom, palms crossed over his chest and a resigned smile on his face as he leaned towards the door. Only a few human beings within the guild knew that Kurama turned into truly bisexual, or more like her infinite years. Roaming the arena had made her speak in confidence to essentially whatever sexual, which includes going after newly matured women. Folks who knew have been the women that he had been with and people she had seduced on her very own terrible levee have been the primary of her victim. Lucy had at the least lasted long enough to definitely pressure the vixen to finger her womanhood. Little Levy had been a potty in her arms the instant she commenced rubbing her small breasts. "Oh, hush you. That tone does not idiot me," the Fox Queen retorted in a seductive growl, directing one of her smug grins at the redhead. "You had been enjoying the display. You little pervert." "Cannot say I failed to," the robe-clad redhead agreed with a smooth grin. "You probably did a number on her." "That I did," she spoke back smugly, jogging her hands via the dozing blonde's tresses with a hungry glint. "Why are you here except wanting to maintain wherein we left off an hour ago?" The extensive-hipped queen made sure to have the redhead stand true to his promise and give her what she wanted for the week after the quest. What should a queen like herself need? An entire week of being fucked everywhere she could think about and leaving no longer an inch of her sinful form spared from being bathed in her king's seed. The strongest wizard of fairy tale chuckled in enjoyment, shaking his head at the lusty-tailed beast. "You are an insatiable little slut, you know that, proper? Extra, then you do, my love, and greater than you realize. There has been no point in denying what was actual. Now your reason for coming here and interrupting my fun? Erza, fit is just about to begin. Wanna come and watch?" "Not now. I am gonna need to have a bit chat with Lucy whilst she wakes up," the Fox Queen spoke back casually, snapping her hands to resume the water within the tub and relaxing into the embody of the nice and cozy water with a comfortable sigh. "We will be there as soon as we will. Don't go overboard with her. She remains a younger female and Uzumaki advising others now not to head overboard. I failed to assume I would stay lengthy sufficient to peer the day. Oh, stop being a sarcastic whinge, you grumpy vixen. You understand what I meant." Naruto grumbled incoherently and vanished into skinny air, leaving a seductively smiling Kurama to turn her gaze in the direction of the slowly awakening blonde. There has been clear exhilaration within the air when Naruto arrived on the scene. Natsu and Erza were head-to-head, surrounded by means of an excited mob of civilians and wizards alike. Screams and cheers of fight have been echoing across the streets as he neared the site. He did not need to witness the combat to realize who turned into going to win. Natsu becomes sturdy with an exceptional amount of latent capability. If that capacity become ever awakened, he can also just be the most powerful wizard to ever stroll Earthland. But Erza became more potent for the time being. She had extra enjoy and warrior-like instincts. Plus she turned into train via him, so beating her become kinda close to not possible in the meanwhile. What should he possibly do in a state of affairs like this to reveal guide for his girlfriend and encourage her to finish the fight as quickly as feasible? Drink his ass off with one thick-hipped and fatted Kana Alberona of Path, searching around for a simple glimpse of a blue bra or brown pants. Amidst the gang, the gown-clad redhead discovered the busty female sitting beside a board off to the farthest aspect of the crowd and taking bets. Yup, that changed into Kana all right, usually taking advantage of situations. Ingesting pal, lover boy, and Bem. The two have been hugging the dwelling daylights out of each other inside the following few seconds. The friendly hug failed to ultimate lengthy before hungry lips locked. Adventurous tongues fought for dominance, and wandering fingers fondled tender, fat flesh. The gang was too focused on the upcoming war among fairy tale wizards to word that Kana changed into straddling the redhead right at the back of them, and sucking the lifestyles out of his lips like a hungry tigress. The forgetful redhead absolutely allowed the card wizard to vent out her frustrations and lightly again her kiss, one hand rubbing her uncovered return like a gentle lover ought to, and other hand squeezing the ever-softness out of her giant ass. What? An ass that tender and massive wishes to be shown the honor it merits, yup. Nonetheless, the identical lips, Kana whispered in a cheeky tone as she sat immediately on his stomach and gave the breathless redhead a scorching appearance. "You needed to suck the existence out of me to discern that out?" "I needed to make sure it was you," she retorted mischievously, gritting her pants-included rump towards the redhead's erection with an extensive smirk. "Now I'm certain the monster throbbing under my butt belongs to most effective one man. Don't mess with that monster in case you wanna walk directly." Naruto responded with the aid of squeezing her butt cheeks. "Pretty, tough, If I want to stroll instantly, this is the busta mage countered in a seductive whisper, making sure to grind all her meatiness upon his schlong, dangling her bra-blanketed titties in front of his face like a bait. We could take this inside, lover boy. It become a wonder how nobody had observed them on the lower back considering their compromising positions. However, the crowd and any passing buyers had been too busy watching the approaching conflict between Erza and Natsu to look around. Achieving a head, Naruto gently grabbed the meaty orbs dangling in the front of his face with a wide grin, earning a seductive moan from the brunette as he delicately fondled her heavy breasts, and gently thrust up his groin against her massive rump. Fat, meaty and wobbling breasts being molded into the hands of his fingers turned into a feeling he cherished almost as a lot as he loved watching his fingers sink into the fatness of a thick ass. Kana had each in spades, and by way of the Almighty he cherished her for it. Handiest if you promise to position these terrible women to true use, the gown-clad redhead bit again huskily, lightly squeezing the fleshy globes, and pulled the brunette toward push his head in among the valley of her milk tanks. If you realize what I mean, deliver me to a bed and I will place more than these awful women to use, the card wizard purred seductively, wrapping her palms around his head to push him deeper into her cleavage and moan as he licked her exposed flesh like a kitten. These drinks do not paintings anymore. I want some thick creamy load to intoxicate me. That was Naruto had to hear earlier. Then the redhead snapped his arms and the two entangled fanatics found themselves in one of the many rooms of the guild, shaking away the dots from her eyes because of the suddenness of the teleportation. Kana untangled herself from the redhead, stood up with a seductive smirk, roaming her eyes over the redhead sprawled on the bed. Eyes up right here, lover boy, the brunette commented cheekily, snapping her fingers on the redhead as he turned his interest far away from the ceiling and targeted on her busta shape with lopsided smile, brown eyes twinkling in mischief and rosy lips stretched right into a hungry smirk. The voluptuous wide-hipped lady pulled her long tresses into an excessive ponytail, making sure that every one of Naruto's focus became on her, and her by myself by way of subtly shaking her huge hips. Let me introduce you to my ladies, Kana purred hungrily, attaining back for the clasp of her bra and harshly pulling the material with a strong tug, letting the bountiful orbs jiggle out in all its erotic glory. Oh, this feels lots higher now. A pair of gravity-defying and wobbling breasts swelled from her top body like meaty hills, pinkish areolas deliciously preceded by way of lovable pink nipples already erect from arousal, and practically begging to be sucked dry. And, now for the primary direction of the day, the wizard trailed off with a predatory smirk, trailing down her arms from the meaty breasts all the way to the hem of her pants as she locked eyes with the excited redhead. The brown skin-tight pants have been promptly taken off, but now not before presenting Naruto one of the hottest and seductive indicates ever as she shook her hips to take the pants off, bending all the way down to permit the meaty fatness of her large milk jugs wobble deliciously. By the point her panties had been, Naruto became tougher than a metallic rod, and the crotch of his gown threatened to rip away any 2nd. A taut belly, outstanding flare of huge hips ideal for birthing children, an exceptionally thick booty deliciously supported with the aid of plump womanly thighs accompanied in shape. Like what you see, lover boy, Kana purred teasingly, placing exaggerated sways into her thick hips as she approached the bed and climbed up on all fours, causing her massive knockers to wobble enticingly as she crawled to her lover. More than you recognize, Naruto retorted with a smile as he shed away the stressful robes from his body and revealed a wonderfully nude frame that would even make Adonis weep in jealousy. The car wizard's eyes twinkled in lust. Small tongue came out of her mouth to lick dry rosy lips when she witnessed what could best be defined as perfection mendacity earlier than her hungry eyes, flawlessly balanced and lean, pectoral muscle tissues able to hold up her lithe shape like a weightless doll and ravage her, a chiseled chest to mash her smooth frame in opposition to, and washboard abs searching as although they had been built from marble. The ones were all properly and exact, but the final and really now not the least part of his body became what stole the highlight. A large, throbbing and drooling foot-long pillar of guy meat jutted from his pelvis, and stood immediately like an attentive soldier. I'm able to take a wager, she countered with a wide, lust-stuffed smirk as she approached the status meat pole with dazed hunger, gentle brown eyes devotedly constant on its thick, veiny largeness. I'm gonna revel in taking this horrific boy for experience. Rides aren't loose, you already know, the redhead wizard retorted smugly. Your gonna should persuade me to present you a journey, a challenge? I love it! The busta woman countered hungrily, Kana failed to want further commands to do what she had planned as she reached forward and grabbed the meaty cock by means of the base, trailing manicured fingers over the throbbing veins as she located her frame between Naruto's spread legs. My god, this issue is sort of a freaking weapon, the brunette mumbled in amazement, wrapping both hands across the fat shaft with huge eyes. How many ladies have you ever ruined with this beast? No matter how regularly she saw it or alternatively swallow and trip his cock, it usually surprised her by using the primary look. Don't worry, little lady, it might not chunk. The redhead snickered self-assuredly, attaining a head to pat the aggravated woman on the head like a baby. You have 2 large weapons to counter mine. Use them. The smugness in his voice best aroused the annoyed brunette as she directed a half-of-hearted glare at her lover. Boastful monster dick bastard. Reluctantly letting go of the throbbing meat rod, the thick-butted beauty hefted up her large, creamy globes of flesh and dropped them on Naruto's pelvis with a wet meaty thud, efficaciously trapping his big dick among the valley of heaven. Oh fuck. Oh, I'm sorry, did that harm? Kana taunted smugly, enjoying the look of absolute bliss on his face as she squeezed her meaty titties round his cock, nearly threatening to weigh down the rod among her big globes. Let's have a look at if my women can reign on this large boy, no longer losing time. The brown-haired woman endured, squeezed her creamy titties across the trap duration and smothering the massive intruder between creamy globes of tit flesh. Quickly sufficient. The complaints changed from a difficult however sensual massage right into a full-blown tit job as the dark-haired splendor bobbed her wobbling twins up and down the throbbing shaft, locking eyes with the redhead as his face twisted in pride. Take that, you boastful stud. And this? Ah fuck. Naruto groaned loudly and jerked his hips when a couple of pouty lips engulfed the bulbous head of his dick, a skilled tongue trailing circles around the base of the swollen head before it become taken out. Yes, suck that dick. Take it deeper. Tingle of pleasure shot through his frame as he watched the erotic display of Kana smothering his dick among her massive milk tankers, shifting those best globes of creamy darkish flesh up and down his manhood and sucking on the top when it had emerged from the large pile of meat, feeling the groaning redhead place a large hand on her head to encourage her skillful tit blowjob combination, and feeling his massive meat throb among her boobs. The thick-hipped girl knew that her lover become close to exploding and extended her ministrations. I am near. The red-headed wizard groaned out via gridded enamel as Kana multiplied the rate of the tit rubdown, and initiated a nearly vacuum-like suction pressure on his pink head, pushing him in the direction of his inevitable climax. I am gonna replenish that slutty mouth pussy of yours real accurate. Plump, lips wrapped around the crown of his dick. Kana wrapped one in all her delicate hand round her large knockers to futilely preserve them contained across the throbbing dick and reached among the valley to cup his swollen and full containers of clean toddler batter, delicately manicured palms skillfully uplifting the underside of her lover's ball sack and palm lovingly fondling his balls. Kana gave one bob to her huge tits earlier than ruthlessly swallowing the whole foot-long fuck stick into her mouth with one fell swoop. Fuck. Naruto shouted in marvel as a really heat hollow engulfed his complete shaft, from the engorged tip all the way down to his thick base, prompting the redhead to thrust his hips into the busty female's sucking mouth and pressure her head down. Take all of it. The brown-haired wizard moaned in lustful ecstasy as the whole fuckstick becomes shoved into her throat, eyes tearing up from the difficult treatment, a strong hand retaining her head from pulling away while spurt after thick spurt of man batter exploded down her gullet. That become brilliant, Naruto muttered out in bliss as Kana released his cock head with a moist pop, making sure to lick all the last cum smooth after the powerful discharge. I notion you're gonna suck my balls off, I tried, she retorted in a husky tone, giving the nevertheless hard shaft a tempting lick at the same time as a couple brown eyes stared instantly into his blue oceanic eyes. So do I get a ride or do you want extra? Convincing regrettably for the brown-haired lady. Naruto wasn't given the time to reply her query because the door to the room became pushed open and a relatively anxious Mira walked in, simplest to blush like a lovely faculty lady as she eyed the brown-haired lady seated between Naruto's legs and licking his manhood like a kitten. You two are at it again? Without informing me, once more? The busty silver-haired lady began in a purple-faced pout as she crossed her palms over a pair of large tits, eyes glued to the joystick being licked via a smugly smirking Kana. You may nevertheless be a part of. Once I drain him dry, Kana immediately corrected the excited redhead. grabbing the nevertheless throbbing cock with the aid of the bottom as she rubbed it towards her cheek with a self-confident smile. You may have him after this terrible boy is achieved, filling me up in each viable manner. Mira might have glared at her friend for hogging Naruto all to herself, but the scenario become going to solve the difficulty without her having to raise a finger. The whinge nonetheless were given one load, if the way she become constantly licking her lips become any indication, and her stomach become additionally bloated considerably. Sorry to rain in your parade, but the Magic Council has dispatched an emissary to take Naruto along with her, Mira explained blankly, ensuring to no longer display her smugness as Kana groaned miserably. You need to move, Naruto, right now. She is waiting outside. Tell the council to fuck off. Kana tousled angrily, now not letting cross of the now softening cock. I need to get this dick, and that I need it right now. As a whole lot, Naruto hated to leave his girls all hot and bothered. He also had a few business with the council, and this was the perfect possibility to clutter with them. We're going to continue this whilst I get back. It took quite some time to persuade Kana to concede. National Council, Fiori branch. If Naruto become ever requested to describe the majesty of the building that the Magic Council known as home, he would be too short to answer, wrapping all his thoughts and wonders in an unmarried word, pompous. That was what it appeared like. A pompous searching building with strange designs made to seem like the council was extra of an emperor's fort than a collective research department. There had been 10 members, but the constructing dedicated to these men and women ought to suit in about 100 or so families. That is why Naruto in no way got alongside the council. This court docket will now come to order. One of the frog-like creature commenced in a fairly hesitant tone. Earlier than us is the defendant, and Naruto Uzumaki. Please take the stand. Sir, please awaken. A giant sweat drop trailed along the heads of the council members as they watched the redhead blissfully sleep while standing up, a piece of drool dripping down his lips as he snored what gave the impression of a cute fox package. 5 extra minutes, Mom. The redhead mumbled sleepily, conserving his hands as though to show his non-existent mom the quantity of mints he needed to awaken. Are you able to send over Anko? She knows the way to wake me up. It didn't take a genius to parent how this Anko man or woman used to wake him up when they listened to his perverted giggles after the sentence, and his hip thrusting right into a non-existent body. The extra conservative members of the council ought to sense a wave of warmth journeying to their faces as they watched the redhead snort and thrust his hips like he turned into, nicely you understand the relaxation, till the chairman could not take it any more and slammed his personnel at the deck. Awaken. His eyebrow twitched when the whiskered redhead slowly opened his eyes and actually yawned. This insulting charade has gone on lengthy sufficient. Why? What the hell goes on? Naruto requested sleepily, questioning why the person in front of him turned into so irritated, or rather why he becomes standing on a stand before a set of normally antique men and women, aside from, in which am I and who the fuck are you vintage geezers? If the chairman was indignant earlier then, he became annoyed now. He wasn't the simplest, even though as most of the council participants were fuming and gripping the rails of the upper deck in anger, as the redhead basically insulted their very existence. Hey, their sweetheart, the still fairly sleepy redhead drawled, presenting a grin to the youngest woman member of the organization. I feel like I realize you quite well. Altair couldn't assist but allow an amused smile dance on her rosy lips as she eyed the good-looking redhead looking to remember her. That pressured look on his whiskered face turned into so lovely. If she changed into any regular lady, she would have cuddled and hugged the residing cuteness out of him through now. Do you? Oh, how she loved this game of cat and mouse. Typically she would be the predator and others would be the prey. However, at this example, she became the mouse and he became the terrifyingly strong shadow of a tiger geared up to consume her. Yeah, I nearly have your call at the tip of my tongue. The gown-clad wizard trailed on with a confused expression, blissfully ignoring the relaxation of the council. Tip of the tongue? Oh yes, his tongue. She absolutely knew the adventures of his piercing tongue. A satisfied smirk beamed on her lips as she recalled the occasions, or as an alternative the bright information of the way his tongue had explored regions no other had been allowed to even see, giving off the impression that he could not parent out her call. The charismatic redhead grumbled like a disillusioned child and shrugged his shoulders in nonchalance. Oh fuck it. I hate remembering things that I've forgotten. The point is I recognize you, and that's all. Unlike different human beings, Altair did now not appear to thoughts his forgetful nature, as she smiled knowingly, and winked at the grumbling guy. Mr. Uzumaki, at the same time as the Magic Council does acknowledge your fame and contributions to the security of our land. Such acknowledgments does not come up with the right to demean the esteemed council or to keep in mind yourself above the regulation. The chubby head of the council started in a lecturing tone, getting nods of approval from the remaining participants. I'm sorry, who are you? Some hours later it took pretty a while for the council to bear in mind to the redhead's forgetful nature and reluctantly reintroduce themselves to the redhead, hoping to end the charade as quickly as possible when you consider that his presence on the council always delivered hassle and headache to those involved, only for Naruto to entirely forget about their positions with the easy so? Altair sat smirking through the complete ordeal as Naruto performed the tune and forced the council to dance to his music without even performing the slightest bit amused. Ultimately, the council had no choice but to dismiss the redhead with a caution, which stated Wizard disregarded in desire of taking pictures a flying kiss on the youngest female, and method the guild while clutching his belly from laughter. Yes, he had a trouble with forgetting humans' names and occasionally faces, but he did not forget about their positions. He knew who had which function within the council, but convincing them that he had forgotten their roles at the side of their names have been laughingly easy. Their reintroduction changed into even extra comical. He had been tempted to burst out guffawing several instances throughout the method but had controlled himself. Their expressions whilst he spoke back to their repeated introductions with a "so" was one for the ages, that must teach the old bats to in no way ever devote the mistake of summoning Naruto Uzumaki to the council once more. If everyone had a problem with him, they need to approach him with a bowl of ramen as an offering, after which give an explanation for their grievances in preference to calling him. He had problems with being bossed around. His temper changed into soon ruined while he backed to the guild and located 3 set of eyes practically drilling a hollow through his skull. From in the back of the counter, he could sense Candy and Sort Mirror giving him one of the most intensely searing appears he had ever acquired from this type of adorable woman as she served her customers. He felt like a sheep surrounded with the aid of APC, of wolves from all aspects, or alternatively 3 facets, as another set of brown hungry however heated eyes glared daggers at him from the facet of the guild corridor. His drinking companion was chugging barrels after barrel of alcohol even as trying to burn him along with her eyes, and finally, his Candy however strict lady friend thoroughly ignoring him. The amusing component changed into that despite being irritated at him, no doubt after locating out that he and Kana had nearly banged. The woman sat subsequent to him even as looking the opposite way with an angry pout. Erza, I am not talking to you, oh come on, no hear you pass, Naruto chimed in, holding a plate of strawberry cake to his moody female with a wide grin. Strawberry ice cream was her second favorite meals, proper after his scorching nut cream. His grin widened on the concept, as predicted. Erza tried her excellent to now not study the tempting plate of strawberry goodness, however her arms betrayed her. A couple of delicate arms snatched the plate quicker than the blink of an eye fixed, and pretty quickly the sheepishly blushing woman changed into devouring the cake with a lovely childish look on her face. Naruto knew simply how to push her buttons and make her collapse, smiling a real love-crammed smile on the pink-haired wizard. Naruto leaned towards her, returned and located his chin on her armored shoulder, nuzzling into her red tresses hid cheek. You are so lovable, as though stunned. Erza's whole body tensed and stiffened like a ramrod, heat visiting all over her frame as she heard his worn-out mumbling and felt the redhead yawn like a child in relaxation on his head on her shoulder. No question, drifting off to sleep, cheeks redder than a ripe tomato and her meals forgotten, Erza slowly cozy, eyes softening and lips threatening to smile as she heard the redhead cutely snore on her shoulder. How could she stay mad at him, while he appeared and acted so innocently cute? Lightly placing the plate at the desk, Erza reached for her boyfriend's head and gently caressed his whiskered cheek with a flush-faced smile, leaning her head towards his very own. I cannot stay mad at you for long, you huge goofball, so you forgive me? Her loving smile widened even extra as she nuzzled his head and traced his whisker marks together with her delicate hand, inwardly swooning at his rather lovable mumble. I forgive you, sweet. And the romantic moment turned into ruin as the seemingly sleepy redhead shot up and stood immediately on his FT, a wide triumphant smirk beaming on his whiskered visage, plenty to the surprise of his girlfriend. What? Individuals who knew of Erza's well-known temper appropriately excused themselves to a quiet corner, and waited for the imminent chaos with bated breaths because the buster redhead stood up with a large tick mark pulsing on her forehead. Hello, I have got other vixens to assuage, Naruto reasoned innocently, providing considered one of his trademark foxy smiles, which failed to paintings at the fuming redhead at that second, fortuitously for all and sundry. Something acquainted but nevertheless disorienting happened. A shroud of power, telltale symptoms of a spell, protected the whole guild corridor in a be counted of seconds, placing all, however, the elders of the guild to a completely happy sleep. Naruto changed into quick to cushion Erza's fall and lightly laid out the busted girl on the desk earlier than searching towards the doorway. A tall, masked parent with a collection of weapons and staffs strolled through the door and directly approached the search board, supplying a diffused nod towards Naruto, who looked on with confusion before walking away. Who the hell turned into that guy? Naruto asked after a second of silence, earning a groan from the quick grasp of the guild. Right here we cross again, he muttered below his breath, just as the wizards had been beginning to stir. The doorways to the corridor had been driven open and Lucy walked in with a careworn expression upon seeing the dozing shape of her guild friends. Her careworn expression quickly modified into a complete body blush whilst she saw Naruto searching at her with an understanding smile. Kurama became proudly perched on fat-butted Wizard's shoulder, a haughty smirk dancing on her vulpine face as she eyed her partner. Hiya there, handsome. It didn't take a genius to determine that negative Lucy become definitely beneath the have an impact on of her actions. You are late, Lucy, and I wish to discuss some problems. Ain't that proper, woman? The nine-tailed fox retorted with a boastful grin, nuzzling the blushing lady's cheek. Pedo Vixen failed to pay attention. You whinge when negative little Levy becomes swallowing that monster between your legs. If I recollect correctly, she become helplessly choking on that rod and assure a person saved shoving extra into her little gullet. Zip it.